you?
Good. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Strictly Speaking. This is our Conversations with Theater Makers. My name is Jamie Melma. I'm the resident scenic designer for University Theater. We're so happy to have everybody joining us tonight for the series. I want to say thank you to all who have tuned in so far and for your support of the arts of NC State and of University Theater. Our guest tonight is scenic artist and owner of Majestic Scenic, Jessica Holcombe. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to see you. It's been a long time.
You too, I know. We've tried a couple of times, but it's never quite made it.
Yeah, so I think when did you start at universities? UNC.
That one, the place that we went to do
the place that we went.
I guess I started in 01, graduated in 05.
Okay.
For undergrad, yeah.
Oh, really? I thought it was the other way around somehow. So we only overlapped for 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Rob Eastman Mullins and I graduated the same year, I think.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, he was on the show last semester.
I saw that.
All right.
Good. All our people.
All the people. So how are things going? Like, are you working on any projects at the moment? Like, what's happening over there?
Things are so great in the world. I currently am not really, due to all kinds of circumstances, is currently in storage. So that's fun. I did, since I had all this free time all of a sudden, that I didn't really expect to have ever, I had and started a master's program. So
what?
Figured I'd do something with it. So yeah, so that's my primary time taker upper currently.
Wow. So what does that mean for Majestic then?
The hope is that it means I'm better at my job when I get done, and that I'll be able to hopefully do both when it's a 3-year program. So when business comes back, like we know it will, I'll be able to kind of do both and bounce back with that and hopefully finish up the grad degree. So it's in project management. It's actually at UNCSA.
Nice.
Far. So yeah, here's hoping it all works out together.
I'm sure it will. So that is obviously a big change.
Yes. Being a student again is a lovely in many, many ways and also challenging in many ways. But
yeah.
So far.
I was talking earlier today about the possibility of like, oh, if we added this class to what we were doing, like, oh, I would want to take that class. I was like, is that a good idea? I don't know. So that, I mean, a typical day for you now is very different than before then.
It is. And we've still got a couple of small projects here and there that pop.
Okay.
We did a few things for Piedmont Opera when they did some live stream stuff, and I painted a logo on a on a local garage, things like that. But so just kind of juggling that, trying to decide if I need to get, some sort of job in the interim, and doing class stuff. So
yeah,
it's a very different world than a year ago.
Right. Goodness. Well, let's talk a little bit about scenic art in general then. What is being a scenic artist mean to you? Like, what is that role? Can you define that for folks who might not really understand it?
Playing with paint all the time.
Right.
That's all we do, right? I think the important part about it is seeing, right? Like that's our whole job it's looking at elevations and being able to to tell if what we're painting looks like the elevation. And if it doesn't look like the elevation, how does it not look like the elevation, and what needs to happen to bring it, closer to that world.
Yeah.
It's, to me, that's the important. You can learn so much of what we do. It's a toolbox like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to teach that ability to see the world and then represent and recreate it on a two-dimensional surface.
When I was painting full time, like, it was weird. It was like your brain worked in layers.
Yes.
I don't know if you feel or experience this, but it's just like it's like when you look at surfaces, suddenly you're like breaking it down into the different layers of paint that it would be.
Very much so. Especially like when you're in school and you're learning all about it to start with, that's totally how it pans out in your head, right? Like you're looking at sunsets going, okay, I think I'd like spray this first, and then a little ombre, and then I'm gonna lay in my mountain line.
Yeah, I had that a lot with texture. Like I was particularly doing it a lot with textures, like this rock texture. How would I recreate that if I did this? Like how? Yeah, less big picture, more individual types of stuff. It's such
my camera is right. My camera is filled with like random surfaces.
Yeah, I feel that. So are there specific challenges that you found as like being someone who's well, actually, let me start here. How did you first get involved in theater in the first place? And then what led you to scenic paint specifically?
So I incredibly fortunate to go to Reynolds High School here in Winston. And they have a 2,000 seat theater as their auditorium. So yeah, it was easy to fall in love there. And actually kind of started out acting and some things like that, and then got into backstage stuff and had always been interested in art. And then when somebody told me that a scenic artist was a thing and that it like art meets theater, sold. So after that, it was and then, School of the Arts was right here. I grew up here, and it just kind of all made sense. It was not my like career path finding was not a lot of work on my part. There's a lot of being fortunate involved there.
Just happened to come across the things that led to the right places.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was similar for me too. Like, I mean, and this happened to me in college, I guess in undergrad. I was studying art and then doing theater, and then I took a design class, and I was like, wait, you can do both?
You can smush these together?
I'm like, wait a minute.
That's cool. Where'd you go for your undergrad?
It's a very small school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, called Calvin College.
Okay. I think I did know that.
Yeah.
I did at some point.
I mean, it was a small program, but had a big theater community. Like there was no major. I was just a communications major with an emphasis in theater, right? But you sort of craft your own. Like once I knew what I wanted to do, which was that, you sort of craft your own thing. And
right. And so it's nice to be in a program where you have that kind of freedom.
Yeah.
That are interested in it, can kind of do that.
It's easy to get in this industry in particular. It's easy to get siloed into things, and I liked that about that liberal arts education.
Yeah.
So being an artist, as we are, what kinds of did you face particular challenges when it came to being an artist and also a business owner? Many.
All of them. No, I'm sure we were very fortunate there too. I'm sure there could have been far more challenges. So I don't want to poke the universe there. Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you're trying to start this thing. And for me, it was totally backwards. And as far as I can tell, most other business owners operate the same way, especially in this industry.
Hmm.
But we just, we kind of had a project that was offered um, that was too large financially for me to do by myself. And that's when I started the LLC. Um, and you spend a lot of time not doing art is the, is the biggest problem. Sort of
Yes,
like learning as you go, and keeping your fingers crossed that you're doing things right, and um, talking to a lot of people that know a lot more than you do about things. And I mean, it's stressful, and it's people that are depending on you. Um,
mm,
in our case for a product, and also employees depending on a paycheck, and hopefully okay working conditions and hours, and which is tough in our business.
definitely.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. But then it's also worth it, when you get that project done and you have that big, we did this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's always the part that you're like, oh, all right, I'll do it again.
Yeah. So yeah, you kind of found your way into it then, like other things, huh? Um, how long was that after School of the Arts?
I started the LLC in January 2014.
Also quite a ways.
I had been freelancing for a good while before that, and,
Yeah.
and worked with, the people that we started Majestic all together, had worked with them for years before that.
That makes a big difference.
It does. It really does. Above all else, the people that I work with are amazing. I had the incredible fortune to work with Tim Kadian, who is our technical supervisor,
Hmm.
the type person. He's amazing and a beautiful, beautiful carpenter. And we would have never gone into fabrication had it not been for him. And then Mary Crockett and Angelina Rodriguez are our scenics, and they are dear friends and also amazing painters. So got super lucky there.
Well, it makes a big difference when you really like the people you work with. I know, like, I took 4 years off between undergrad and graduate school because, like, I'm only meant to take one, but where I was working as a painter, I was just having such a great time, and the people were so wonderful that it
Right.
just sort of rolled on, and you just keep working with them, and
It's
that's what
so easy
happened.
to get into those
Yeah,
spots.
that's great. How did you like the freelance land?
Um, I, when I was younger, I liked it a lot. Um, I have never had a real full time job, um, which I count myself again fortunate to have made it this far and that way. I did some traveling. I worked in New York here and there. I would go and stay with friends and work for a couple of weeks and some stuff like that. um, I worked at a fresh market for a while. I worked at a restaurant job. Like I did the stuff I had to do to get by, but by and
Yeah,
large, I managed to freelance in theater world for how many years would that make that? 10-ish years
that's
before.
a good amount.
It's a lot of freedom, it's a lot
Yeah.
of stressful stuff too. Like there were definitely some times I worked pretty regularly at a theater that went under, and there were some months after that I was like, well, maybe this is it. Like
Mm,
maybe this is when I find a new career or move. um
mm.
but it's funny. The next job comes, it tends to do that.
Are you a member of the Union USA?
I am not.
Okay.
So I am a member of IATSE,
Mm-hmm.
which is sort of a nice happy medium here because
Yeah.
USA wouldn't do a ton for me. It wouldn't be enough to balance out the dues
Right.
here.
I mean, the real question is like, as a freelancer, were you covered in some way for some of the things like healthcare and that kind of stuff?
No. I was uninsured for a great many years in that world. But luckily I was young and healthy and it worked out okay. I highly recommend insurance though.
Yes. Well, I mean, yes, obviously.
It's definitely at the top of my to-do list. So
Yeah, I was just curious because yeah, we've talked a couple times in here about USA or the unions in general and how for folks who do so much freelance work that they can be helpful in that regard when you don't like you just don't
absolutely.
have a lot of protections when you're a freelance person. So yeah, that's why I asked.
For sure. And if you're in a position where you can get enough work,
Mhm.
that you can cover your, because you have to work a certain amount to get coverage. So if you live in Atlanta or New York, obviously, or, used to be Wilmington. I don't know how Wilmington is now, but if you live one of those places that you can get the work, totally worth it.
Yeah.
um, IATSE was a nice middle ground for me because it allows me to work union film and commercial gigs. But the dues are reasonable.
Right.
So I'm covered, I'm union, people will hire me. But it doesn't break my bank.
Right. Yeah. Did you do a lot of film and TV when you were freelancing?
I did for a while, yeah. And now I do a fair amount of commercial work. Um, but for a bit, yeah, I was doing some art department stuff.
Mhm.
Lovely film called The Shunning. um, what was there was another one, The Ultimate Life. Some lovely Hallmark.
Uh-huh.
Good times, good times.
Yeah. So let's see. What kinds of things does Majestic do or did or will do again someday?
We'll do again.
And yeah.
Was there more?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So we sort of claim ourselves to be a theatrical fabrication and finishing shop. So obviously we do a lot of theater.
Mm-hmm.
We also do a fair amount of commercial work, and some occasional installation work, permanent and or temporary,
Mm-hmm.
furniture market, some of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Shortly before pandemic land started, we had gotten into like some Netflix comedy special type stuff.
Oh yes, I saw the Patton Oswalt special. I saw that you had
Yeah.
posted about it, and I actually watched the special specifically to check out what you had done.
Nice.
I mean, I like Patton Oswalt too, but like
Of course. It's
that
just
was
about
pretty
us.
cool. Right, but it was mostly about I wanted to see what you guys had made because it looked pretty good in the photos.
We were pretty proud of it. That one turned out really nicely. It was.
Josh, do we have that? I think that it's on your website. Josh, are you able to pull that up maybe? We'll give you a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've been doing theater, that kind of stuff.
We're kind of if you want us to make something and you want to pay us to do it, we'll probably do it. We end up being a lot of the like, we need this yesterday, and we definitely fall into that world a lot because we're obliging like that.
Right.
And also, I mean, I was surprised at, especially there for a while, we were getting a fair amount of New York. just because we're very affordable, even by the time we ship it there. You know, it's not a bad price comparatively.
Mm.
So that was kind of an unexpected thing, I guess. We did a couple of New York City Opera floors.
Yeah, I saw that. That cement floor was
That
really incredible.
was fun to do. Thank you.
Cement, I mean, cement is hard. It seems like such a mundane thing would not be so difficult, but it really is.
But to read realistically, it's tough.
Yeah.
One.
There it is.
It was one of my favorites. It was so fun to do. Especially once you get, I love that point in a project where you're like, okay, this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is going to look like it's supposed to look. That's my favorite part.
Yes. I'm assuming you do a decent amount of testing.
Oh yeah. Lots and lots of samples.
Yeah. I tend to run out of time and don't do as much as I should.
Well, don't we all though, really?
Right.
You know, you pick your battles. It's,
yeah.
You know, something's going to be a little bit difficult. Like, yeah, we'll do lots of samples.
Yeah. There's stuff that, you know, like I know what that'll turn out like if I do XYZ.
Right. And especially once you get to a certain point of experience, I think it's a lot yeah. To be dangerous. It's a lot easier to be like, I'm just gonna slap this.
I'm just gonna do that. That's basically what I was doing all day today.
Yeah.
I did something by throwing together, like there's no rendering for it really, but I did throw a bunch of things together in SketchUp using photos and this and that, and I was like, yeah, I'll do this and do that.
It's fine. Yeah, but you designed it, right? Is it your design?
I did, yeah. So it's
easier then.
It's much easier then.
Because then you can just say, oh yeah, I meant to do that.
Right. You could be like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant to do. We're trying to find
Which one are you looking for?
The Patton Oswalt one. Where is it?
Oh, I think that was a link I sent.
Oh. It's like not on the website.
No, I haven't put it on the website yet. Another fun thing you get to do as a business owner is have all kinds of worries about things you are and aren't allowed to post and following all NDAs and.
Right.
So I honestly tend to procrastinate anything that feels.
You're like, I don't know.
Be there.
Maybe I should wait. There, that's right.
Yeah, and if you go down a little bit, I think there's a really good full set picture.
Yeah, there it is. It helps that I'm like a mid-century modern fan. So I was like, when I saw pictures, I was like, oh, that's really cool. What a great idea for a comedy special.
It was a lot of fun. We had to order a crap ton of fake boxwood for that edge stage right. It was special.
Fake plants are like so difficult. Just in general, you need so much more than you think you're going to need.
So true. And we had to paint, you know, you always have to paint it because it never is natural.
Right.
Like, you're never going to buy something that you're like, oh, that looks just like foliage.
Yep. So considering you've done all that, and do you consider yourself sort of a self-starter, or what kind of person is it that like runs their own business and takes on those tasks, do you think?
No. No, I'm not a self-starter. You know, I think you have to love what you do, at least going into it. Nobody jumps through all the hoops to start a business if they're like, this is fine. You know? You obviously have to care about it. And I think so frequently, I'm sure there are very put together people that approach this in a very directed and on purpose way. Mm-hmm. But I think a great many of us just, there's a need for it for some reason. I always had it in the back of my head, like, wouldn't it be nice to do my own thing but as far as it being a reality, didn't, you know, that didn't really feel like a thing. But oh, look, there's an opportunity, and I jumped on it. So perhaps in that sense, yes.
Yeah.
But it's not. I'm sure I have a philosophy that many in business would not agree with. But I'm kind of a fan of, I watch for opportunities. I appreciate and do all that I can to make opportunities worthwhile and work for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I sort of trust that the right thing for us is going to happen. And, some people don't operate like that. It has worked out really, really well for us.
Yeah.
A perfect example is we were looking for a building and, really starting to get pretty serious about finding a space that was just ours to rent or purchase pre-pandemic world. And it just we didn't find the right space. And if we had gotten into a lease or a mortgage before this, we would be toast.
Yeah.
We would be toast and also in a dangerous amount of debt.
Right.
So it's, I don't love to push things, which I know some would would not see as business savvy. But that's just that's how I'm comfortable operating.
Yeah.
So it is how I operate.
It feels a little bit like a theme of some of these conversations I've been having lately with folks that they like, a lot of folks are talking about how the best and most rewarding work is the work that you're sort of doing for yourself. You're not, you're making your own thing and you're making your own thing happen. And that seems to be what really excites people and gets people going. And it sounds like that is sort of similar here too.
I think so. And as you grow your brand, I guess, you find the parts of it that are near and dear to you and latch on to them. And if you're able to discard some parts that are not so near and dear to you. And it just it's like a breathing creature, it grows and it it shifts in ways that you don't expect. And you're like, holy crap, you're walking around by yourself. I don't know what's going on. So you just kind of have to roll with it and appreciate the twists and turns as they come and deal with them as they come. And, just kind of trust that you have, and this is a tough one for me, but trust that you have gained the experience in getting here. Now deal with this creature that you have. It's fun.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you have favorite kinds of projects that come through the shop?
All of them are special in their own.
Right, they're all my children.
We love backdrops. I mean, always fun because that's kind of on my side of things. That's what we do. So I get really excited about backdrops, and I like some of the install stuff. We made this giant flower pot for Furnitureland South that was super fun, and it was just, we had to be really innovative and figure out how we were gonna make huge flowers and
because I've seen these and was like, how did they make those?
I have to give a little plug for Wonderflex here. It's
Wonderflex, yes.
Love it. It's Wonderflex covered in fabric and painted.
Yes.
Wanted to incorporate some fabrics that they were using in the showroom. So we actually went through and like picked out stuff together. And this was something that we designed and took, from start to finish, from concept to reality. And
Yeah,
I was pretty pleased with how it turned out. It's really, really cute.
it is. I love it.
And it was crazy fun to do. Like making all those pedals and stuff was really it was we made them out of paper first to kind of prototype them, and just seeing them
How,
come to life was super fun.
yeah. How'd the paper version go?
Not bad, actually. They were really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's part of when we were like testing materials and stuff, where I was like, all right, I think this might actually work.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It
And
was
I have like I never have an opportunity to do backdrops. It's not my number one like forte. Like I don't feel super skilled at it. It takes a lot of time and room,
yeah.
and I don't have a lot of either of those usually. So I might do a small thing here or there, or pieces, but not full drops.
Yeah.
But so I've always really loved seeing the drop work that you've been doing. Has there been any concern, or have you noticed any kind of trend of like less people getting drops, or like, because I know, Rose Brand now is doing that thing where they're printing.
It's like, are you going to bring up the printed backdrops?
Yeah, I am. I know. It's a huge, elephant in the scenic painting world.
It is. Not that has really come to my attention.
That's good.
There have certainly been some times, and luckily it was often times where I was like, oh dear God, yes, please send that to Rose Brand. Like we have enough to do.
Right.
There have certainly been a few. I think it's more cost efficient for smaller stuff.
For sure.
Obviously you can get something incredibly detailed on a 10 by 20 foot piece of goods, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. I think there are materials issues from what I can tell. Like their fabric options are not quite as pleasing as like a painted drop on muslin.
Sure.
It's often shiny and you can see through it, and you can't do any kind of like translucency stuff.
Right.
So I think we still have a little leg up.
Yeah.
I'm super concerned that everything will go to print. That will be a really
Yeah, I don't think so either. That's been my feeling too. I do print a lot of things, but I'm like, it's not full drops, and I'm not doing it through Rose Brand. We're doing it very guerrilla style with our own like plotter that we have, and sticky paper.
Yeah,
but it's
sticky paper. Good.
Yeah, it works really well actually. But I'm doing that for things where I'm making shortcuts for things like wallpaper. I'm just gonna print wallpaper.
Right.
Versus like stencil and paint it, because stenciling wallpaper takes forever. Or if I do use it in a backdrop kind of way, I'm breaking it up into small chunks, and
right. Well, and the secret,
again, because I just don't have room or time to paint it. So
sure. The secret part of me that I will never again admit, and if anyone watching it shares it, I will lie. But sometimes it's nice to cheat.
Right.
Really convenient. I don't want to paint all that stenciling.
Right.
I want to pay my people, but as long as I can pay them to wallpaper it, we'll be fine.
Oh my gosh. Ann Clark was posting a bunch of stuff today on Instagram of old shows, and I saw this linoleum floor that she had done, obviously lots of stencil work. And I was like, it was gorgeous, but I was also going, oh my God, I can't imagine.
I know. And like when you have to sit down and do it all,
Yep, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But in the past, it has not ever worked out, but I have definitely also been like, I really want a full stage sky. maybe I should see if Jessica can get like,
Do
this
it.
guy. I will someday. We will do it. But because there's some kinds of drops that you can hang on to and reuse,
Yeah.
like semi-generic cityscape, skies,
Right.
like sunsets, things like that. I would love to have, and someday it will be the right show and the right circumstances to do it.
Someday.
Right.
We've toyed with doing some rental stuff too when it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I have some stuff that I've hung on to kind of loosely for that purpose, but
yeah, that's a whole other headache.
It's a whole other thing. I don't even begin to have the energy to delve into figuring out how to market that or deal with it or
right. It's a lot.
We'll see. We'll see if that happens.
So, all right, let's see. So for folks who may not know like how a shop runs or what that process is like, can you walk us through some of the process? Like what are the major steps from like you've been hired to the gig to like now you're sending it off?
Yeah. So usually what happens before we're even hired is there's a bidding process.
Right.
We are super fortunate to have a fair amount of clients who like us and keep coming back. And, we sometimes skip that step with them. They're like, give us a price. And if we all agree, we move forward. But often there's a bidding process where we will be given the scope of the project, the drawings, paint elevations, et cetera, whatever they've got.
Mm-hmm.
Because real world, sometimes it's like, I don't know, a phone call and a napkin drawing.
Right.
But best case scenario, we get a drawing package and an elevation package. And from there, we put together some numbers, depending on what it is. If there's a fabrication element, Tim and I get together and, we have a spreadsheet and we math a lot and we put a number on it. And depending on the company we're working with, the estimate paperwork varies a little bit. Some
mm-hmm.
like to see a total breakdown, every number that they can possibly think of seeing and where it's going. And some people just want a price, they just want to know how much money they're paying.
Right.
So from there, it's either accepted or not. Sometimes someone will come back and say, hey, we really want you guys to do this, but we got to figure out, how we can get this a little bit lower. And we try to be really good about working with that. Because the nice thing about Scenic World particularly is there's a ton of wiggle room. I can paint every beautiful detail of this drop, or we can simplify it and make it a little bit more painterly. We cannot stick jewels to it. We can't, there's a million places.
And there's a lot of different techniques for certain different things. And one way might look better, but be more expensive. You could go the cheaper route, but it may not look quite. Yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room.
Exactly. And we can still offer a really solid product, but not quite have the expenditure that,
sure.
Will be difficult for them. So, then at that point, we solidify everything. We'll often do a contract depending on the company. And then we start shopping and ordering, and figure out timeline, schedule. Sometimes the scope changes a little bit between the bid and the reality. And we try to roll with those punches. Sometimes you'll have a change order if it changes quite a bit. And then we'll get on the schedule and start work and produce the thing. And then we deliver it. And sometimes we'll just drop a thing off. And sometimes we'll also install it depending on their needs. And then we take lots of pictures and feel proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
It sounds so easy when you just say it like that, doesn't it?
Right. It's that easy. And you're working are you getting a lot of good elevations for stuff, or is there a decent amount of napkin drawing happening?
It depends. Now that technology is such an element in design, It's a little bit better in many ways, just because it's easier to create that picture,
Yep.
and have it be a little bit more fleshed out. But by and large, we get solid information, especially in the paint realm. There's often a lot of, particularly with design. I mean, some designers we work with over and over again. So
Sure.
I frequently am like, just give me some research, tell me what you want.
Right.
We can kind of, you get to that point with designers where you can share the brain a little bit.
Yep.
And that's always a really nice place to be.
Yeah. It's great for things like textures versus like a drop.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure.
send me the research for the kind of wood you want, and we'll be good. But yeah, a drop is hard without. You did that. You sent that image of, or that time lapse of that wax resist drop.
Oh, that was
gorgeous.
Fun. That was fun and
Howard?
crazy. Thank you. It was for Howard.
God.
Yeah, his Peter Pan at Charlotte Ballet.
That's right.
It was crazy. It was crazy. The craziest part about it was actually removing the wax.
Oh, really?
Because, you learn something new every time, right? It with the sample, it's no problem. You're standing there, you take the wax off, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Often you'll iron wax to remove it, but we found push it through the face, and of course it's a translucency, so we need a really beautiful front of the drop. And so we scraped all of it off, and then at some point I found that you could vacuum it off with a shop vac, like right against the fabric. And then it got significantly better, but it was many, many hours. Thankfully, I had an amazing helper, Sydney Yeoman, who sat on the floor with me for I don't know how long.
Just vacuuming wax.
And vacuumed wax and scraped wax and
Yeah.
But luckily, still on schedule, still got it done, looked beautiful. So we kind of chalk those up as lessons and carry on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a translucency is always terrifying. So
terrifying. Can you describe what a translucency is for folks who may not understand?
Absolutely.
The terror.
The terror. So a translucency is when, and there's a couple of kinds, either a piece of muslin is painted front and back, and when it's lit from the front, it is one thing. When it's lit from the back, it is another thing. So for example, perhaps a lighthouse is painted on the front, and when it's lit from the front, it's a lovely daytime lighthouse scene. And when it's lit from the back, it's a nighttime stormy lighthouse scene. So the trick is you have to size your soft goods really, really well so that paint does not go through the muslin onto the other side.
Right.
And it's horrifying to this day. I've painted quite a few at this point, and it's scary every time.
Yeah, panic. Like, is it sealed enough? Is it going to bleed?
You lift up the corner the first time.
Terrifying. I always end up over sealing, and then it's like extra crispy.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah, not quite so bad, but enough to be like, oh geez.
Right, that's the best.
Well, because
it's a little crunchy when you move it.
It's fine. Do you have, what has been one of your like most exciting or favorite projects today? I know they're all your children.
Yeah, they're all my children. It is hard. That translucency that we did for Thoroughly Modern Millie, I think you mentioned it earlier. Michael Schweikart designed it, and it was just, it was such a beautiful color palette. It was really, it was intricate. We tore our hair out painting city things. And it was just lovely, and it turned out beautifully. Yeah, that.
It is.
And it's definitely up there.
What translucency effect did it have?
Mostly it just when
day to night.
Night.
Yeah, that's a pretty common.
Back. because some of the windows were, right. I think it's only on a few buildings though. I admittedly, when I saw the pictures, I was like, what was on there? But it was very pretty. Yeah, and that's the elevation down there below it.
I know some folks at Riverside Theater. That's cool.
Yeah, Jason Strom actually hooked me up with them.
Yeah.
He was at Florida State. He, I think, did their backdrops, and when
Yeah, I think
he very kindly passed them along.
I think he's still a production manager. I think I know the production manager. Anyway.
Yeah, they're lovely people.
I've worked there once and I enjoyed the folks I work with. It was a challenging experience, but I enjoyed Riverside Theater quite a bit.
Yeah. We just did a scrim for them to, well, I say just pandemic. But it was right as everything got shut down, and it took us forever to finish it just because then we had all this stuff to deal with and whatnot. So, but did finally get it done, sent it to them. It may never see the light of day, but we did it. And I guess while I'm talking about favorite projects, I have to skip over to Freelance World, and give a little shout out to my Tate people, because a lot of the favorite things that I've done have definitely been with them. There's an awesome scenic team over there, and just some really cool projects, some Cirque du Soleil stuff.
Yeah, they do a lot, like all the Cirque du Soleil stuff, don't they? Or a lot
of it. Yeah, for a long time they did. Yeah, and they did the Elton John tour that was happening before all the things closed.
Right.
And so I got to work on that proscenium piece with all the sculpted elements and just really fun stuff. They're amazing and also good friends. So Carla Ramsey is one of my very favorite people in the world. And
is she at Tate?
She is, yeah.
I did not realize
Scenic department there.
I have seen her at Howard. I think I saw her at Howard's retirement.
Yeah.
But and so, yeah. So I guess I didn't put it together that she was at Tate, or maybe I had forgotten because that was already a while ago.
It's possible. She's been there for a while. I don't want to think about how long at this point.
Right.
I was trying to think of when the first time I went to Tate was. I want to say it's been like a decade ago or so.
Wow.
It's been a while. But yeah, they're lovely, and it's like a workation when I go there because I get to see all my friends, and
yeah,
it's good.
That's always good. And Tate Towers is a major fabrication company. They put together, for folks who do not know, they put together major tours and major Broadway shows, other kinds of things. So a lot of tours, right? Like
they do mostly tours. They don't really do Broadway.
Right, that's right.
They do a lot of if there's a huge tour, it's a 50 to 70% chance that they're on it somewhere.
Yeah.
They're branching out a little bit more now into themed entertainment type stuff, permanent install.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're all over the place. It's huge.
What do you think? So what is your favorite part of your job?
Probably sampling. If I were to break it down to task, yeah, I love sampling. If I could just have a career sampling and then someone else would go and do the work, I'd be into that. I just, like looking at a thing and then trying to figure out how to get there, and I don't know, it's just super fun. It's like a puzzle.
Like, what's the process going to be?
Yeah. Solving. I like that kind of problem solving. I'm not as big a fan of other kinds, but that kind is good.
Lower stakes, maybe.
Yeah.
Have you had a time where you like had a very strong disagreement with a designer, or a director? I guess you're not necessarily directly working with directors, but
In business world, it's not so much disagreements,
right.
as it is because we have a fair amount of autonomy, obviously, as a company. Um, so it's not so much disagreements as it is challenges to solve,
Sure.
and figure out how to come together on. And I luckily we haven't had any situations like this, but I probably safety would be the place that disagreements are likely to happen. We're not making anything that's not
Right.
safe for people to be on, no matter how pretty somebody thinks it's going to be. So that's where we might, but even then, we have the ability to walk away if we're concerned about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Freelance world, you obviously come across those times because you have less freedom there because you need to get the job done. They've hired you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've certainly had some instances in that world where it's always somebody asking you to do something that is unreasonable, right?
Yeah. It's like, no, that's
Please
not
stay
possible.
here and paint this detail on this proscenium, even though it's already up and we're already in tech. And we only have one dark day, so we're going to need you to do it in that one day. Okay, thanks. Oh, okay. No wiggle room here at all? No, none? Okay, all right. I'll figure that out. Thanks. Great. Oh, you want me to paint this floor after this midnight production meeting, even though I've been at work since 9 o'clock this morning? Oh, and it has to be done before rehearsal tomorrow? Okay, even though it looks like the elevation and it's not my, okay, all right.
Been there.
You have those moments, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you figure out how to resolve them. And sometimes the way to resolve them is to say, I'm really sorry. I'll be happy to do this in a normal work day. And I need you to make it happen. And sometimes you deal with the consequences of saying that. It's all about kind of analyzing that situation and figuring out what you want to do,
Risk analysis.
Da-na-na.
Was there ever a non-theater class or some other kind of experience that you've had that has proven really invaluable to you over the years?
AutoCAD technically could be a theater class. I just took AutoCAD in my grad stuff, and I'm pleased about that. I hope it's gonna come very in handy. I didn't take these classes the first time around, which is part of the reason that I decided to go back for project management, by the way. I don't know if I said that earlier.
Yes.
But I would encourage every artist to take some manner of business or finance class. We all freelance at some point. Most of us, the vast majority of artists, at some point run themselves as a business. So it's really invaluable information. Yeah.
It's a big area that's been lacking in the theater / art world forever. It's just like a business for artists class, like some kind of instruction on business for artists, because it's just something it makes or breaks people. And
absolutely. And that's reasons that I wanted to do that. I could have gone for design or something, and I looked at MBAs, but it was a little bit harder to apply to the industry.
Sure.
Or to find a program that was industry specific. So my hope is that this will help me, if I eventually go on and teach, this will help me produce a curriculum that will resolve that.
Yeah.
Because I really think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I know that there's a whole generation of folks who are kind of in our bracket of people who have been talking a lot about it. I haven't seen it manifest a lot, but I'm also not like out on the market looking for it either. So,
right.
But yeah, it seems to be that it's being talked about. I know people want it. All right, last question. So what what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who is just getting started and might be interested in painting scenery for a living?
One, I am going to cheat and roll several into one.
I'll take it.
And the overarching is network. Work that network. We have built a business basically on our network. We have never advertised. We have never done any kind of marketing. We've been extremely fortunate to have designers that are willing to go out and talk about us when somebody's asking for something. And it's just been really, really lovely. Never ever underestimate your network. And in that same vein, be kind to people. You never know who's going to wrap back around and have an opportunity to give you a job or to work with you, or to make your situation better in some fashion. It's really, really important to just be a kind human. And very last point in that world is appreciate your team. Always give credit to the people that you're working with. I almost never say like so-and-so works for me. I always say my team, or, Mary Crockett works with me. I work with Mary Crockett. I work with Angelina Rodriguez. It's really important to let people know how important they are. Your situation, to your business, to your world, and to give credit where credit is due. Like nobody gets anywhere on their own, right?
Yeah.
So say those words to people.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And I don't think that's a bunch of separate things. Those are all like one thing about,
right.
Like,
it's an umbrella.
It's like, be a good human. And
that's
talk
all,
to people.
That's all we need at job fair at UNCSA, because once upon a time I was on the other side of the table at job fair.
Yep.
There's a company a lot, and I know I've got 1 minute left. And 1 year at job fair, it was like every question, but the overarching theme was like, don't be a jerk. And so we joked about that being the motto of that year's job fair. Just don't be there were different words used, but don't be a jerk.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Absolutely.
It's been really great to talk to you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and thanks everyone for joining us as well.
All right.
So we're just gonna call it a night, everybody, and say thank you. And
thanks, everybody.
Have a great night. Bye.